In this screencast, we're going to look at the LED blocks for the microbit. So there are a number of blocks which manipulate individual LEDs. So if we use the plot X and Y, this will turn on the LED at the X and Y position. The X value can take any value between 0 to 4 because we've got 5 X positions, and we also have 5 Y positions because there are 25 individual LEDs on a microbit. So 0, 0 is in the top left hand corner, so that's X position 0, Y position 0, and 4, 4 is the bottom right hand corner. One thing to be aware of is that the LED stays on until you unplot it or clear the screen. So you just need to be aware of that. When you plot it, until you unplot it or clear the screen, it's going to stay on. We have a toggle option, and what that does is it switches the LED on if it is off, or it turns it off if it's on. So we'll have a look at that in the project in a little while. There's a point, and that gets us the status for the specific LED. It is true if the LED is already switched on and false if it's not. So that might be something that you want to check for. Also, you can change the brightness of the LED. You can change it to any value between 0 and 255. So your brightness can be anything in that range. So we're going to have a look at some projects. Now, there are some other blocks in there as well in LED, but these are the ones I'm going to look at mainly. So we're going to create a project, and on shake, we're going to toggle the LED at position 2, 2. So what's going to happen is if we shake it and LED at 2, 2 is on, we'll switch it off. If it's off, we'll switch it on. So that's the very first thing we're going to do. When the A button is pressed, we're going to turn on the LED at 1, 3. We're going to turn on the LED at 4, 3. And then we're going to turn on the LED at 0, 4. We'll then pause for 500 milliseconds and then we'll turn each one off. So just to show you how you manipulate those. So that's the on A pressed. When the B button is pressed, we're going to clear the screen. We're going to repeat 5 times, set the brightness, and we're going to pick a random number between 0 and 254. We're going to turn on the LED at a random X and Y position, so we just pick random 0 to 4 on both cases, and then we'll pause for 500 seconds, and it's going to repeat that 5 times. So what will happen is it'll plot 5 different points, and the brightness will change because we're randomly picking the brightness every time. And then finally, on A plus B pressed, we're going to clear the screen to start off with. We're going to turn on each LED one after the other, with the first row being switched on first, followed by the second row, etc. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to have a loop within a loop. So we're going to use 2 for loops there. So we'll go to makecode.com now and have a look at how we might do these things. So in our new project, we're going to get rid of the on start and the forever. We're going to go for our input, and we're going to say on shake. And then we're going to go to the LED block here, and you'll notice there's a toggle. So we're going to toggle, and I'm going to change the X position to 2 and the Y position to 2. So we're toggling it on and off depending. So if I shake it for the first time, it'll turn it on. I shake it next, turns it off. Shake it again, turns it on. Shake it again, turns it off. And again, and again. So every time I shake it, it switches it on or off. So that's my first one. Next, we're going to go to input and on button A pressed. So this time we're going to plot. So we want to turn on the LED at position 1, 3. So I'm going to plot X, 1, Y, 3. So next we're going to plot 4, 3. And finally, we're going to plot 0, 4. So when we look here, we've got 1, 3, 4, 3, and 0, 4. So this one is in column 0, row 4, column 1, row 3, and column 4, row 3. So now we want to pause. So we're going to pause for 500 milliseconds. And then we're going to unplot those values. So I'm just going to pull across the unplot in LED, and I'm going to unplot 1, 3, and then I can duplicate that, and I can unplot 4, 3, and finally I'll duplicate it again and unplot 0, 4. So now when I press my A button, it should plot the 3 points, wait for half a second, and then unplot them. So there's my 3, and now it's switched it off again. They go again, switch them on, pause, switch them off again. So when the B button is pressed, we want to change the brightness. So I'm going to go on button B pressed. So here I'm going to clear the screen, so I can go into Basic and go More, and that's where you'll find Clear Screen. So I just want to clear everything. If anything is switched on, then I want to just be able to switch it off. I want to go into Loops and repeat 5 times. And then I'm just going to go into LED, and if you go to More here, you can set the brightness. So I'm going to set brightness, and instead of just 255, I'm going to pick a random. So here, I'm just going to pick random. I'll just bring this down here so you can see it better. So I'm going to set brightness to pick random 0, 2, and instead of 4, I'm going to go 255. And then I'm going to plot, and I'm just going to plot a random one. So if I go back into Math, I will find my pick random, and it's pick random 0 to 4, and go back in again and pick random 0 to 4. So it's just going to randomly pick an X and a Y coordinate, and then I'm going to pause for half a second just so we can see what's going on. So in between each one, I'm going to pause for half a second. If I press the B button now, you'll see it's showing. Now here it's only showing 3. If I go again, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I show again, it's going 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I had said I wanted to repeat it 5 times, so I'm going to change it from 4 to 5. I'm going to press the B button again. Now you'll notice when I do this, the brightness changes in between each time, and that's just random. And here it's only plotting 4. Here it's plotting 5. So what's happening sometimes is when it is picking the random X and Y values, it's actually picking one that it already has. So you're going to get that sometimes. So you need to be a little bit aware of that. So sometimes it plots 5. Here it's plotting 5, so that's okay. But sometimes it might only plot 3 or 4. So you just need to be aware that that's what's going on. So in that case, you're seeing that the brightness is changing. So we're randomly picking the brightness every time, and we're randomly picking where it's going to show. Notice it's important that we have the clear screen, because if I didn't have that in there, if I kept pressing the B button, eventually it would just have all of them on there. Okay. So in the last part of this project, we're going to, on A and B button pressed together, we're going to start off by clearing the screen to clear everything off. And then we're going to turn on each LED one after the other, with the first row being turned on first, followed by the second row, and so on. So we're going to manipulate the X position first, and then the Y position. So we're going to have a look at how we might do that. So I'm just going to make a little bit of space here. We're going to go on button A plus B pressed. First thing we're going to do is clear the screen, which we can find in More, on Basic. And then we're going to create a number of variables, and we're going to create a variable called xpos for the position of the X, and also we're going to make a variable for the Y position. Now what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to set xpos to 0. So we're going to start up in the top, and we're also going to set ypos to 0. So that will set us right up in the top left hand corner, so just up here. So that's the very first thing we want to do. Now what we want to do is we want to repeat 5 times. So we're going to go into Loops, and we're going to repeat 5 times. So we'll start off gently, and we will plot the X position. So we're going to go into LED, and we'll plot XY, and this time we're going to bring in the X position and the Y position. So my variables here, I've got my Y position here. So I've got X position and Y position here. And then I'm going to change X position by 1. So if I go to variables and change X position by 1. Now let's see what happens when we do that. Change X position by 1. And if I press the A plus B button, it's putting them one after the other. Now I'm going to slow that down a little because it's kind of useful to see what's happening. So I'm going to go into Basic, and I'm going to pause here for a little while, just so you can see what's happening. So I'm going to pause for 400 milliseconds. So let's try that A plus B button again. It's clearing the screen, and now you can see one after the other it's doing that. Now what I want to do is I want to put another loop outside of that. So I'm going to go for loops here again, and I'm going to repeat 5 times. So I'm going to put this inside, bring that here, and I'm going to do it for 5 times. Now what I need to do, after I've plotted that first row across, what I need to do is I need to go to to variables, and I need to set my X position back to 0 to bring me back to the start again. I'm going to set X position to 0, and I'm going to change the Y position by 1 because I want to move on to the next row along. So I'm resetting my column position back to 0, and then I want to change Y position by 1. Now if I do A plus B again, there's my 5, second row, third row, and fourth row, and then finally my fifth row. So what we've done there is we've switched on each LED one by one. We've used a nested loop. So this is a perfect example of where you might use a nested loop. And usually when you have a nested loop, you will have 2 indices. And in this case, we have 2 indices, our X position and our Y position. So hopefully you found that project with the LEDs useful, and looking forward to seeing what you make from it.